Good evening, everyone. Today is Tuesday, August 12th, 2025. Update for Wednesday the 13th. All right, let's go. Well, as far as new setups, there's not a whole lot to pick from tonight, so let's just hold off on that. Market made new highs, and then Rusty finally woke up too, so that covers most bases as far as pullbacks, obviously. And I'll get to that in just 1 second to flesh that out a little bit more. Big stay throughout, but a couple of raised stops in here, so make sure you do adjust your stops higher. I did stick with this BTM for what it's worth. It was just getting whacked so hard before the market, but yeah, it was not a cut and dry type of stop nick or something like that, so it did dip well below that stop. If you're new in methodology, then you should have stopped out on that. And then my discretion is a little questionable because of the distance away. I just let you know on that how I played it because I'm sure I'll get some questions on that. Not a whole lot again to look at tonight, so let's just sit tight. This GROI looks okay. There's a possible TKO within gold. If you looking for some exposure in the golds, let's take a look at the portfolio, and then we'll pop out to the overall market. Here's that BTM. Let's bang this out real quick. Pre-market, it was like way down here or something, so I let it open and let it shake out. I was keeping an eye on around 4 as a kind of an uncle point, so to speak, to get out. And we'll see how it shakes out. Sometimes you stick with these, and then the next day they get creamed, and you wish you would have tried a little discretion. But the point is that if it just kind of barely dipped below the stop and then rally back up, especially on a gap, then you want to try to stick with it. Now, if you're newer to the methodology or newer to trading, then by all means follow things a little bit more mechanically. ABCL coming back in a little bit of a bummer, but just coming right back to that 30 EMA. KGC closed at all-time high, so we're going to bump the stop a little bit on that one. Ditto for KTOS, not a bad day there, up 3 3/4 nearly, and banging out again new closing highs. SLDP, a little bit of a rally there. I sure like to see it make some new highs and not let back for a while. TFPM tagged the new highs, but then came back a little by the end of the day, and finally TJ coming in a little bit, just consolidating at these high levels. So far, so good longer term. Let's take a look at the overall market. Pretty interesting day today. First of all, S&P 500, bam, look at that. Banged out new highs with a little bit of vigor, up 1% and change. Not going to argue with all-time highs. And just as a general thing, one thing I was thinking about before it went live tonight, and this is kind of the basis of TFM 10% system. As long as the market is hovering around its old highs, give it the benefits of the doubt, and that saved me a lot of trouble over the years, and that's why the TFM requires at least a 10% drop from closing highs before you start thinking about getting out. Anyway, Nasdaq Composite, look at that. Not a bad day there. Banging on new highs, a little bit of vigor. So far, so good there. And Rusty finally got the memo. Look at that, up nearly 3%, pushing above the short-term overhead supply, and now pushing toward the top of this longer-term overhead supply. And then new highs would be the next stop there. But hey, take things one day at a time. Let's not get too excited and start kissing each other just yet, but certainly an improvement. Semiconductors, bam, all-time highs there, finally getting out of this little consolidation. So that's certainly a good thing. Robo stocks banging out new highs with a little bit of vigor, so that's looking sort of interesting there. We might see some setups show up soon. Pod stocks off to the races early on, but then stalled out by the end of the day. They've sort of melted up in here as of late, so maybe they could use a little bit of a breather. Gold, the commodity, I'm sorry, that's gold stocks. Gold, the commodity, there it is. Not much to report there, kind of Flatsville stuck in the middle of its range. But gold stocks have been doing well as of late, and they're right at these brand new highs, so that's certainly a good thing. Metals overall did well. Selected stocks within this index did really well. Uranium type of stocks, I think it was UEC, one of those stocks, for instance, you can see doing pretty good, up 6% today, and it helped push the metals to brand new highs, so that's certainly a good thing. Now, speaking of good things, the financials, I wouldn't say they're out of the woods just yet, but as I've been saying quite a bit, they've been looking a little toppy. Today's action puts it back above the 30, and they still have some overhead supply to overcome, but hey, one day at a time. One more big update would certainly put them at brand new highs. Speaking of new highs, retail right here at brand new highs, not quite all-time highs, but 1 year plus highs. Defense, decent day there, just shy or right at all-time highs. Nope, just slightly below it. But anyway, close enough for government work. So that's certainly a good thing there. Biotechnology, decent day there too. It's got its work cut out for it. But as I've said quite a bit on individual issue basis, still a lot of momentum there. Ethereum, bam, it's finally gotten the memo in crypto, and it's banging out some new highs, a little bit of vigor. Bitcoin has been fairly strong, and it's right at these new highs, about 120,000 in cash as I speak. So Ethereum's finally begun to take off and actually outperform Bitcoin for a while. Some people were concerned about MAGs not that long ago, but hey, MAGs is right here at all-time highs, so that's certainly a good thing too. So for the most part, most areas are looking pretty good. Telecom breaking out to brand new highs with a little bit of vigor, and quite a few others, as you would expect with the overall market doing well. So let's continue to look to get long. Obviously, we need to wait for the next round of setups. Honor your stops on everything existing. Obviously, and take some partial profits as offered. You know the routine. Everybody have a fantastic night. If you have any questions, Dave at DaveLandry.com, or feel free to hit me up on Facebook. Again, have a great night. We'll talk tomorrow.